This is Datalog Educational Consult, bringing the ICT knowledge to your doorsteps. In this course, we'll be looking at the introductory aspect of SPSS. Introductory aspect of SPSS. In this session 1, we'll be looking at file management, descriptive statistics, editing and modifying of data. At the end of this session, it is expected of the student to be able to know the following: data entry, variable and value label, entering of data, file management, descriptive statistics, and editing and modifying of data. Now, SPSS in view. SPSS is the #1 scholarly research software. That is, when it comes to the research, in the field of research, SPSS is viewed as #1 because the primary audience of SPSS is academic researcher. And why is it the #1? SPSS is #1 because it's user-friendly. It's a point-and-click software. You can save your syntax code, data. You can analyze data from experiment. That is, SPSS can be used for some other people that are not directly related to social science, but have their data in form of a social science data, like some people in the field of biochemistry, microbiology. There are some data they work with that SPSS can also run. In sum, SPSS is still popular, easy to use interface, safe, and reuse your syntax. Setting up SPSS. The first version of SPSS is version 1, which was in 1986. The recent version was version 26. Then, before 1 and 26, there was a version that you must have seen called PASW. That is predictive analytics software. Later, it was then resolved. Then it was renamed as IBM SPSS. Since then, it has been called IBM SPSS. In terms of edition, SPSS has 4 editions, namely Base, Standard, Professional, and Premium. Now, under Base, you can run basic statistics, linear regression, clustering, and factor analysis. And under Standard, you can run logistic regression, you can generate LU, you can do a survivor analysis. And in Professional edition, you can do a data prep, forecasting, decision trees, and imputation. While in Premium, you can do bootstrapping, complex sampling, exact test, and SEM. In pricing of SPSS, as at August 2016, the base edition cost $1,170. The standard edition cost $2,610. The professional edition cost $5,240, while the premium cost $7,820. And if you want to use SPSS for a start, you just want to know what it's all about, and you don't want to buy before experiencing the features, you can get a 14 days free trial from SPSS site. And as a student, you can't afford all the pricing above. You can get an academic student version, which is for 6 months. It costs $35. SPSS for Windows is a popular comprehensive data analysis package containing a multitude of features designed to facilitate the execution of a wide range of statistical analysis. It was developed for the analysis of data in the social sciences. SPSS means statistical package for social science. It is well suited to analyze data from survey and database. Starting SPSS. After logging into your Windows, the user will be presented with a screen containing a number of different icons, just like the way you always see it anytime you on your laptop. There are no other ways to run SPSS that is different from the way I've been running all other software on your laptops. You can either start running, searching for your software by clicking on the start button. You will be presented with a log of them. The same thing applies to SPSS. If you are using Windows 10, you can go to your search button below and press SPSS or IBM SPSS. It will come up immediately. You can also click on your start button and drag down. You know how in Windows 10 it is arranged alphabetically from A to Z. When you click, you will get to IBM. Then you will see your SPS there. Click on the folder, then you click on SPSS to launch. When you run your SPSS, you will be presented with two views, which is called new data set. You see new database query and recent files. All the files you will see in this place is pointing to the last work that was done by the user. And at this right hand side, you will see modules and programmability. This place you will see tutorials. If you want to know about SPSS, you want to see how you can navigate your way through SPSS, you come to this edge. Then the second view, after you've clicked OK from the previous view, if you click OK on this view here, or you click cancel, this is the next window called a data entry area. And in this data entry area, you have two views. The first one is called data view. This place is called data view. This is called variable view. Here we have data view, and here we have variable view. This is our variable view, and this is our data view. Now data view, you see, just like the way you have it in Excel, row by column. This is row by column. Row by column, row by column. That is the way it is in Excel. We have it in row by column. Now the only difference is where you have your row and column in Excel, you have A, B, C in this row. In the column, you have A, B, C in all the column, A, B, C to Z, then A, B. You see, you started having A, B, A, C. But in SPSS, you have VAR representing your variables. Then you have 1, 2, 3 representing the number of cases. That's so in SPSS is by variable by cases. It's variable by cases. So this is data view. Here we have variable view. This is where you enter your variable. These are the two views that you have in SPSS: data view and variable view. Now, defining your variable under variable view. Defining your variable under variable view. If you look at the left hand side corner at the bottom of the SPSS data editor screen, you will see two small tabs labeled data entry and variable view, which I call the two types of view that we have in SPSS. To create a new variable, click on variable view and the following screen will appear. Each row describes the attribute of one variable. Begin by entering a variable name in the name column. A variable name in the name column. Now, this is the name column. Let us enter a variable name. You see, other features came up. We have other features. This place is called type. Width, decimal, label, values, missing, columns, align, measures, and row. Defining variable. A variable name can be up to 64 characters long, must contain no spaces, and should be something meaningful. It is best to stick to alphanumeric characters and start with a letter. Once you have entered a name, SPSS defines the variable type as numeric. That is by default. You may need to change the variable type to e.g. strings if you wanted to use text such as names, or to date if you want to enter date. Let's see how that works. Now, to know the type of document, to change the type of document, you click on this combo here. You see, you have numeric, comma, dot. You have numeric, comma, dot, scientific notation, date, dollar. Last is if you are working with a currency related document. Here you have custom currency. That is if you are not working with dollars, you are working with another type of currency. Here you have string. Here we have restricted numeric, which is integers with leading zero, like our mobile number. So by default, our data is always in numeric. Rules for variable. Rules for variable. When you are coding your variable under column name, there are names. These are the variables. These are the names that you cannot use to name a variable. Names cannot be all, and, by, aq, ge, gt. All these variables, all these names that are put here cannot be used to name your variable. Why? They are reserved function in SPSS. You may try and prove if what I'm saying is true. Let us try and enter a variable name and call it and. You see that name contains a reserved word. Whether you type it in capital letter or small letter, you see name contains a reserved word. Those are one of the rules. Another rule is you cannot put a space functions in variable name. Let's try and put a space function. You see, variable name contains an illegal characters. You cannot start a variable name with number. You see that variable name contains an illegal false character. So you must start your variable name with letters. With letters. Your variable name can be with letter. You see, when I put and one, it didn't tell me that a reserved function. You see? So you can start your variable name with letters. You can only start your variable name with letter. You can have it like A12 at. You see? So you see that? It must start with letter. It must start with letter. Your variable name must start with letter. That is the rule for naming your variable. Then you will usually be working with one of numeric, date, or string type of data. For numeric variable, you may want to change the decimal places. If the data are integers, whole numbers such as age, in complete years, you could alter the decimal places to zero. If the number you are planning to enter are very small, like 0.00072, or you require a level of precision like 21.7865, you may want to increase the number of decimal places. When you want to get a high level of precision and you are working with decimal numbers, so you have to increase the decimal column so that it can display all the numbers for you. Usually, there's no need to change the width from 8. Note that width must be larger than the number of decimal places. For a date variable, it is best to use a 4. And you know our digit here is in day, month, and year. With text string, you are given the option to change the number of characters. That is with text string. You're only given the option to change the number of characters. Where possible, we are strongly advised to use numerical coding rather than string, as this makes statistical analysis easier. That is my advice for us. If you are entering a string data that is longer than 8 characters, you will need to increase the width from the default of 8. To be able to fully display the string in the data view window, you may need to increase the numbers of columns in the variable view window. The column missing in the variable view windows allow you to define codes that identify a missing value. Do you get that? You can have several values allowing you to distinguish between types of missing data due to the respondent forgetting to answer rather than say not applicable or refuse to answer. So in this case, you go to missing column as you did with type. We go to missing column. Here we have missing column. You click on this combo. No missing value is highlighted, is clicked by default. Then we click here. You can put a missing value 88, 88, 88. So missing value must be unique. You see, if the other case is 67, if another case is 45, you see I've set a 3 missing value, a 3 missing value. So that is that. Let's continue. There are two types of labels in SPSS. Here we have a variable label. Given to a variable gives a clearer description of the variable and will be displayed on the statistical output, such as graphs and table. When you give a variable name, it does not tell us more about the variable. Like when you have something of this nature, now you have SECU and you have ant art. Does not tell us more about the variable, but when I come here and I put qualification of staff, you see I'm making sense. When I run the analysis, the qualification of staff will be what will represent this variable name on the table. Let's say I run a frequency table for this data. Qualification of staff will display this sec. Then because this is telling me more about this variable name sec. That is the first type of label we have. The second type of label we have is values. Values is telling me more about the type of qualifications that the staff have. Then I assign a value to each type of qualification. When I click on this value here and I click on this combo, it's come out. Like we have, let's say here we have exposure group, and I want to know the type of exposure that I'm dealing with. Here I can click on this. I can say okay, one is exposed to dust, 2 is non-exposed. Or you can also remove what you just added to change it. I put 0 is non-exposed. You will see that I press OK. That is values label, value labels. These are in the labels rule. This place can take many characters, at least almost 245 characters in your label. You can take space character. You can see there are space between qualification and staff. That is different from name column. In label column, you can take up to 240 characters. and defining our variable. We already did that. Now this is the exercise. I want you to enter your own variable name. Here I have ID number, group, age, sex, HT, asthma, bronchitis, smoke now, smoke ever, number of cigarettes, number of years smoked. Then I also want you to set a missing data code, and I also want you to give some of these variables that have a values. I want you to give it a value. So do the exercise and come back to the video. Welcome back. When you finish creating all the variables, the next thing you need to do is to enter the data into the data view. And as we have said in the beginning, this is our data view. This is where you enter the data. You can see when you have entered the variable, you discover that your column has changed. Here you have ID number, group, age, sex, HT, asthma, bronch, smoke. You see, you have all these variables, and it stopped here because your variable the variable you coded stopped here. Let's say you still have more variable, it will continue on that row. It will continue on that row. Entering the data. You can now enter the data as you would in an Excel spreadsheet. To make an entry in a particular cell on the spreadsheet, you use the mouse to move the cursor to select that cell and type in the value. The value will appear in the cell. Click on the mouse, press enter, or use the cursor key to enter that value. If you attempt to enter data of the wrong type into a variable, for example, text into a numeric variable, the data will not be accepted. If you enter incorrect data, if incorrect data is entered, it can be overtyped or deleted, just like the way it works in Excel. Exercise 2. The data below are some variables from the foundry study for which you have just entered the variable codes. If you leave a gap in any cell in the worksheet, SPSS will put a dot and treat it as missing data. To enter the cases, either type the number corresponding to the value label, what you label, or alternatively, display the value labels on the coded values. Display the value label on the coded values. These are displayed by choosing value labels button from the second row of option at the top of either data view or variable view. Let me show you how that works. To display the value labels or the value corresponding to this, when you click on this here, you see the values or the value label. See the values or the value label. It's telling you I enter one here, and one is corresponding to exposed to dust. This is the end of session 1. See you in the next session.